this it? Let's see here. No, those are old negatives. Einstein, Da Vinci, Mark Twain, Thomas Edison, they all used journals. And there's a reason for that. Some of the most successful people in history and in the world today use a journal to keep them on track. Ah, that's it. The fact is, if you don't have one of these, it's very possible that your career is not going the way you want it to go. You're not as innovative as you'd like to be. Your business is not at the success level as you think it should be. There are many good reasons why you should be journaling, and I want to share some of those reasons. Because the fact is, having a journal has helped me turn my life around multiple times when I really needed it. It's helped me work through problems, and it's helped me stay on track and achieve my goals. Journaling is powerful. So if you're part of the combination crew, you understand that you have to keep track of what is working and what is not working. And using a journal makes it easier to keep track, to be able to look back through the previous months, maybe even years, to see what has worked best and what has not. Maybe you see some trends. You keep doing the same thing over and over again. But sometimes you don't notice unless you write it down, the same problem, the same issues. By writing it all down in one place, you really give yourself the opportunity to make corrections along the way. So do you write in a journal? Let me know in the comments, yes or no. One of the most important reasons why journaling is so important is because you can take everything that is up here and put it on a piece of paper. The thing is, people who are busy, who have a lot going on, who are successful, they have a lot of balls in the air, and if you're just juggling, trying to keep things going, you're not progressing. You're not moving forward. You're not innovating for new ideas. You are just trying to keep the status quo from falling apart. But if you can take the time to write down, make a list of all of the things, and I'm going to share with you some of the different ways I use journaling, but also some other ways that other people use journaling. But if you can write it all down, you can get it off your plate. You can get it out of your head. You can look back later and review the things you need to know, but you can clear your mind enough to progress, solve problems, innovate, and move forward with your life, with your business, with your career. There are so many things I just don't want to forget, and trying to juggle everything up here, it doesn't work. I started journaling when I was in art school. I was introduced to the sketchbook, a book full of blank pages, no lines, nothing, just an open canvas. And I started sketching, but the reality is I'm not very good at sketching. I went for photography to art school, so I practiced, but I found it more useful just kind of setting down my goals on each piece of paper, making lists of the things I needed to do, capturing those ideas that I would normally forget. There's something that I do at the beginning of my journals that I think is really helpful, and you might find it valuable too. Now, there's some things I recommend you don't use your journal for, and I'll get to those in a few moments. But first, I want to share a list of things that you can actually do right now today to help your business and career through journaling. A journal can be a reflection on your day, kind of like a diary, but that's not really the way I use it. Dear Diary. However, there is nothing wrong with documenting your day, sharing some of the key moments so you can look for trends over time. Because if you keep doing the same things, as I mentioned, you keep getting the same results. So if you notice that you're doing the same things, taking on the same activities and not getting where you need to go, or maybe you're engaging with the same people, maybe you're having the same arguments, maybe you're going to the same networking events that are not providing opportunities. Maybe you're advertising and marketing in a certain way and you're documenting what you're doing in those situations. What type of marketing are you using? What kind of advertising? What kind of people are you engaging with? Who do you think your target market is, and who are the people buying from you? Taking a look and going back in time and seeing what has worked, what has not, and maybe gather some ideas, combine new concepts, and try something new. I like to write down my goals in my journal. Now, I'm not talking about writing down 25, 50, or 100 goals every single day. Now, you may have a life goal list, and that could be 25, 100 items. That's fine. But when you want to use goals as a practical tool, I recommend you start your year off with 3 big goals. And then you have activities and goals that you can do and write down each day that focus on achieving the big goals, those big 3. So being able to review the goals, take a look at what needs to be done, write down every single day at least 3 things that you feel you need to accomplish to make it a good day. If you use a sketchbook like I do, you can draw or sketch out your ideas, visually representing the thoughts you have in your mind. Now look, you don't have to be an artist. You don't have to be good at drawing to sketch out your thoughts and ideas. The key is that you're able to help yourself remember much better in a more thorough way. Remember, a picture is worth 1,000 words, so instead of trying to describe your thoughts, visually sketching out your thoughts can sometimes be much more effective. As part of focusing on making each day an excellent day, and by starting off my day with the journal, as I mentioned, I write goals, but I also like to write down the things which will make it a well-rounded day. Now, there may be only 5 or 7 or 10 things that I like to do each day, such as maybe meditation or read or exercise, things that I know that will kick the day off right, and maybe a few things that I need to do throughout the day. Sometimes I have to remind myself to take time for me to visit with friends, take my wife out to dinner. There are a lot of things I should be doing, making sure I'm spending time with my daughter. There are many things that sometimes when we get really busy, we forget to do. We need a well-rounded day, and putting the things down in your journal that makes up for a well-rounded day, writing down the things you need to do each day helps you develop a successful life. Many people use their journals for gratitude. In other words, listing what they are grateful for. It's a great way to start off the day. It puts you in the right direction because you're thinking about all the things that you have. Grateful for the people around you. You're grateful for the things that you have in your life that support your daily life. There are many things to be grateful for, no matter where you find yourself. So maybe you have to dig a little bit deeper. There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes it's a good exercise, especially if you have to dig a little bit deeper than some of us. But the thing is, the more you find yourself grateful for, it seems to expand. And as you continue to focus on those types of things, those number of things come into your life, the things that you can be grateful for, more people to be grateful for, more things and opportunities to be grateful for. What you focus on tends to expand. I really believe that. Journaling can help you through that process. Many of us like to read books. I certainly like reading business and marketing books, and when I'm all done with a book, I'm really excited to implement the new ideas that I've read about, that I've discovered. And sometimes I read something and it brings up a new idea, a new concept that maybe I can share with my team or my business or my community, and I often forget those ideas because I don't write them down. So what I do these days is I dedicate a page in my journal to that book. And so as I discover new ideas, I write them down. And the key ideas that I think will be valuable for my life or business, I write them down. That way, I have a page that I know I can go to when I feel I'm ready to implement the new concepts. Now, I find it helpful to keep my financials listed in my sketchbook, especially during times where I've had a lot of debt. I was able to put, again, all of it out of my head and onto a piece of paper that I could refer to, and then I could develop a plan on how I was going to relieve that debt. What jobs, what income was I going to apply to specific types of debt? I wrote it down, and sometimes when you write things down, it becomes a little more concrete and you're more likely to follow through. I often talk about the concept of not being afraid of the red, because when you recognize, especially in the early days of a startup, or maybe if your business is having a little trouble. Look, it happens to all of us. I recall 3, 4, 5 times where my business or my career was in jeopardy and I had to write everything down, not be afraid of the red. Look at the problem. If you don't recognize the problems or the areas that you have to attend to, you can't fix them. So know how much behind you are. Understanding that success is a positive cash flow. In other words, you have more coming in than going out. But sometimes you have more going out than you have coming in. So maybe you need to take the time to make some cutbacks. And if you list everything out to really see what is going on, sometimes the fix is right at your fingertips. As I alluded to before, documenting your ideas can be really powerful. Look, we all have great ideas, and often those ideas come to us when we're really quiet, and this is something I want to talk more about in a future video. But when we're quiet, sometimes when we're standing in the shower or we're away from everything, some of our best ideas come around. So having a journal to write these ideas down, or maybe when you wake up in the middle of the night, keeping a journal next to your bed. The thing is, those best, great, awesome ideas often come at the most inopportune times. And we say we're going to memorize what it is we need to do or remember this great idea for the future, and we don't. Never do. Honestly, one of my favorite things about journaling is just reflecting back. Yeah, there's a business case and there's an innovation case, but just documenting my life and being able to look back 10, 20, 30 years ago and just kind of remember what was going on, what were some of the challenges I was facing, who was in my life at the time, and what were we doing. I really do appreciate that. Yes, photographs are wonderful and that's part of the overall picture. But just seeing my thoughts in my own writing, I really do appreciate that, and I wouldn't give it up for the world. Journaling can be your historic record. I like to write lists of things that I have to do. Again, getting it out of my head, putting it on a piece of paper where I can check off. I find it extremely valuable. But these lists can be financial, personal, again, goals. There are many different types of lists. I have pages with 20 things on them. Now, sometimes I don't get all the way through the list. That's fine. I've moved on. Sometimes I find lists that I only got halfway through. Actually, I have a few lists that I only checked off 2 things. But down the road, I was able to review those lists and remind myself, oh yeah, these are some things I need to accomplish, and you can put them on your next list. So those lists are a nice history of what it is you need to do, and you can even recognize some of the things that you may be avoiding, because sometimes those things you're avoiding are the things you need to do for success. Now, what I recommend you don't do is use your journal as a complaint department. Yes, it's okay to write down some things that are not working out. It is important to recognize what's not working in your world. But when you write these things down, you're getting them out of your head and you're letting them go. It shouldn't be a journal full of the negative. Don't keep score in your journal. Who owes you? Who has done you wrong? That is not a positive use of your journal. One of my favorite things is when I do open up a new journal. I've gone through all the pages, or maybe there's a shift in my life, and I don't always finish the journal to the very end. I usually find a break. In other words, there's a big shift in my life, such as getting married, or maybe moving, or a change in my business, and I will get a new journal to kind of refresh and start anew, an open canvas to my life. And when I do that, the first page is something I've taken out of the tradition in the United States when the president meets with the Congress once a year and he talks about the State of the Union. Well, I do a State of Rosh, and there's nothing wrong with doing a state of where you are. Where do you live? What's going on? What's your career like? And you can write down the positive and the negative and how you've progressed since the last journal. I find it very powerful. And that way, when I look back at other journals, I can just look at the front page and get a general idea of where I was at the time. And sometimes I read through or skim through the journal just to remind myself, again, looking for trends. But having that front page can give me a general idea of where I've been going and where I've come from through the years. Some of the other things that I write about in the State of Rosh are really good for triggering memories and ideas. Sometimes just one word will help me remember a whole period within my life. But I like to mention, how old am I? Where do I live? Talk about my family members, my pets. What are some of the local politics of the time? Is it an election year? Who won? What are some of the national and local stories going on? All these things will help bring me back to the time that was 5, 10, 20 years ago. Sometimes just going through and thinking about where I was at the time helps me understand where I need to go next, how I got to where I am now. And sometimes I see trends that'll help me avoid future pitfalls. Now you can have more than one journal. Actually, this journal is for my YouTube channels. I write ideas down here and I go through the different types of researching tools that are available to me and I write the results down. And so when I need a new idea, such as why should you be journaling, I can look at this list and find something that I can talk about that I feel that my community will find valuable.